Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics, and I'm free-thinking, innovative, and open-minded, guys. We've had some interesting moments going on with the King and Queen, and the history of Great Britain. It's a very interesting history. It's one of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of absolute tyranny over the states. That's coming from the Declaration of Independence, guys. And to prove this, let the facts be submitted to the candid world. With my friends, Jamar Jabari from the Voice of Change podcast, Soslan Temanson from the Remember Jesus Loves You, I'll meet you at the finish line, and our special guest, Jimmy Dev. Welcome to the panel, guys. I wanted to declare some facts to you guys, to the candid world. The king has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in the operation till his assessment should be obtained. He has refused to pass laws for the accommodation of large districts. He has called together legislative bodies and places for his own comfort. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states from naturalization of their own colonies. He's erected multitudes of new offices to his own fucking monarchy. He has protected them by a mock trial and punishment from of any of them with murder, cutting off with trade from the parts of the world, imposing taxes without our consent, depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, abolishing this free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, suspending his own legislator and declaring for himself a legislative power over the colonies unilaterally. Many other things in the Declaration of Independence, guys. But how's it going today? Welcome. How do you guys feel about the monarch, the British Queen Elizabeth II? Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. God damn.
Sorry, I think I beat you to it.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I never was a fan of monarchy. I think my expression I've been saying for the last 2 weeks is that we gave that shit up in 1776. So, I mean, listen, if you want to pay respects, whatever you want to do, that's fine. That's on you. But unfortunately, as an American, I really don't care about the royal family. There's been a lot of shady business that goes around that surrounds that family in general, and I don't really believe it. We started a republic here, and for the United States, why would I want to glorify or sensationalize some type of royal British monarchy? Throughout time, you know exactly what a monarchy holds. There was the king, the queen, the rich, the elite, the nobles, and then there was the peasants. So for me to respect that kind of system really it doesn't ring true to me, I would say.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
So, is that how everybody else is feeling around here? Anybody else?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, my thing is that, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's music in the background.
Oh, okay.
Now there is.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. All right. So my thing is that this is like a lot of people are like trying to defend the queen, that saying that she was a nice queen and all this shit, compared to her predecessors. And I think the fact of the matter is that you can't really defend incest monarchy that literally for so many generations basically almost colonized the entire world. Like Indians and Ireland and Native Americans here, and like action is just too fucking strong. I mean, their tyranny was so crazy that it gave birth to this colony that turned into a country later on. These colonies that turned into a country later on, and I just think that I feel bad for the people that are crying in the UK because it's like, bro, like, are you still in debt? Because she was very unapologetic and she lived off of your taxes. The whole family did. Y'all paid for their convenience and all this shit. It's like a foolery. It's a sham. The monarchy is stupid. And I wish they gave all those jewels and all the thing they stole back to Africa, back to India, back to everywhere they took it from, and apologize with reparations, bankrupt that bitch. Look, India's GDP, their economy, literally is higher than the UK now. I'm glad she got to see that before she died. That's all I gotta say about that, real quick.
I think that's funny, bro. I think it's funny that the American and European economy is falling apart right now, and we have the crown jewels on the head of King Charles. I mean, but it's funny. Sauce, what up with you? Like, what are you gonna say?
Well, first of all, I want to say to, as you can see, there was an infight on my Facebook post, tribute to the Queen. I definitely did not expect to go this cattywampus, to go like personal attacks. So on behalf of me, I would like to apologize. That was my bad. I should have turned off the comments. But on the other hand, from an individual that has family in England, I mean, I did pay some respect because she is still a human being. Anyway, she was way off on her political spectrum. She was like a tinfoil hat person that probably didn't believe the vaccine actually worked. But forced all of her peasants to get vaccinated as well. So I think we have to look at the history, and we also have to look at America and what we're doing right now through big pharma, through what we're doing through how we're demographically changing America within itself, and how we're also colonizing as well. When we station our men and women overseas and troops, what do you think they're doing? They're having kids with the foreigners, and then they live there, and next you know they have a small village. Because, for instance, if you go to Japan, a lot of those men and women on base, they have 4 or 5 kids, and they're all Japanese. So what are we doing then? We're colonizing ourselves. So we're at fault with each other. America is too right now, as we're speaking. It's called modern day colonization through big pharma and through our military. Take a couple shots at the military.
So, I mean, I'm glad that you can take a couple shots at the military and you don't get in trouble, because they've got a lot of problems, and so do all groups of people that don't have a representative democracy. I will say, representative democracy meaning that everybody that has a voice, and a lot of problems with rape and stuff like that in the military. They've had it for a long time, and they've also have a problem with the excessive military budget that they've been getting, that's been growing every single year consecutively, while the pockets of the American people are shrinking. The inflation is growing, the military budget's growing, and it seems as if the bandwagon mentality is growing. I feel like this whole Queen business, classicization of our love for bandwagon mentality, guys. This is another reason why I went off as well, is because there. I don't want to throw any snowballs or anything like that, but there's somebody who's always constantly referring to me as your part. He's always talking about the Democratic Party as your party. He can't get it through his head that I don't have a party. That I don't have a party because these two parties don't represent me. They don't represent you. They represent the 1% that own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. And that's what I'm trying to talk about. But people with bandwagon mentality and bootlicking natures automatically think that I have it because they can't comprehend or grasp that I don't belong to a party. I've rejected that fucking that indoctrination because they've rejected me, and I feel like that's just it's just another representation of people mourning the Queen, someone who literally doesn't give a shit about them, who their home nature, their home native countries for colonization. They're her crown jewels. This is just yet another fucking metastasization, an example of the fact that we are literally worshiping and bootlicking the people who are oppressing us. It's literally pissing me off, guys.
Yeah, I've never been really. Oh, sorry, you're cutting it out a little bit, but I've never been a big fan of the bootlicking type of mentality myself. I'll put it to you like this: I support our troops. I support the police in the United States. I don't support, obviously, when they break the law themselves. They should be held to a certain level of integrity, and if they break the law, they should get arrested and tried like everyone else. And I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, on the right, people get accused of bootlicking, and I will say that I don't. If you really are constitutionalist, if you really care about the country, then you'll hold everyone to those same standards and those same laws as well. So the bootlicking thing, yeah, it's got to. I would encourage anyone who, if you stand behind troops, stand behind the police, that's great, and that's what we should do, in my opinion. But when they commit acts of, crime, they should be charged as well. But as far as the whole the Queen situation, I mean, I think it goes to say the same thing here in America, which is kind of weird, right? So you have two sides of politics fighting each other. The one thing I will say though is that the left, talks about equality and everybody starting the same, right? The one thing I'm always surprised at, and it's the same thing even like with English and the Queen, is that nobody ever talks about where these big companies got their wealth from. Nobody ever goes after the players in the game who made the money through, kind of like what we're talking about with the Queen, right? So you're admonishing a person whose bloodline is the royal bloodline based on the fact that off the majority's blood, sweat, and tears throughout the years, as long as the feudal system kind of existed. And I will say it's interesting here too that no matter even Democrats or Republican, I've never heard anyone actually call out a family and say your family, became wealthy during slave times. So what are you going to do about it? I always see a lot of people saying to the government, like, because I heard Jamar say reparations, right? I always hear about reparations, and we always go, we want the government to give it, but I never hear anyone actually say, what about the families that became wealthy off the backs of the people with those types of shady types of industry? I mean, how many people became rich during World War II working with the Nazis that were American, that were British, that were whatever? So you never hear them go actually naming the names. So I always find that interesting. I just wanted to throw it out there.
I think that's very interesting myself. Jamar, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, you mentioned the Nazis. They're aiding Nazis now and shit. Like, that's just there's a culture. The culture with just accepting oppression if you live in a first world country because you think that, well, at least I'm not there. But then I won't even call America a first world country because other well-developed countries think that we're third world because of how the poverty rate is and
we're second world.
Our healthcare
officially
is
second world. Officially second
well, that's
world.
what they call Russia. Russia was second world, apparently. So it's like if we're second world, we're like, damn, okay. But my thing is that like it's literally all embedded into the culture of colonialism. This is the breed of colonialism. We are the offsprings of colonialism. Like it changed the world in such a huge way. You ever thought about that? Like, will we still exist if there wasn't no colonialism? Like, think about that. It'll be different people, right? Some people think we'll always still be
not the
there,
way we exist today. We exist today,
right?
Sure.
No.
Right.
Soslan, what do you think about this?
You know, I
What do you
just
think,
want to
Sauce?
tell you for can you hear can you guys hear me or good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's why I think, as an immigrant myself, you know, from an immigrant standpoint, I personally think I'm like, man, America can't get their stuff together. And how is it that we keep on fueling money to both sides of the war? For instance, a lot of you guys didn't know, but we just gave $325 million to OPEC, which OPEC is located in Russia. And then we gave $13 more billion to Ukraine, which I personally think, I honestly think that the generals love war in America. They love it, and so does the billionaires in
Yeah.
America, because that means we're going to be dependent upon them, and that all of these manufacturer companies are going to be dependent on them, and so they're making money off of our backs through heavy taxations. The best way to get reparations is you cut the military budget beyond half, and you decrease the size of the military, because the other countries are established. So why are we being the world police, and why are we over frivolously spending and making sure that Elon Musk is better off and he's got electricity, and your average veteran that's on the street is barely surviving?
Wait, you guys wanted to hear my response about reparations, right? I went on to the whole tangent about something else. Um, I mean, every country that has did something to some other country, that country always asks for reparations, and the United States was given reparations from World War II. I don't know if everybody knew that, and actually the Nazi scientists were a part of reparations. They were to be sent to us as part of reparations. They wanted to grab them before the Soviets did, which I don't think the Soviets were interested, but that's a different story. Instead of putting them in prison, that's probably the only reason they would be interested. But we have already like seen different types of reparations going through the systems around the world. Um, it's not that hard to fathom, and there's other ways to give reparations that would not just money. We're talking about giving these communities that are harmed, not just because it's not just black communities that ask for reparations. Puerto Ricans ask for reparations. A lot of communities does, giving them a chance to actually have a better because everybody is born at different circumstances and have different troubles and issues. It's giving them a better way, a step in the world to be a part of these education systems and actually have a good life, the quality of life for the community, making the community better, getting rid of poverty, having people being able to have the right to have homes and stuff like that. Reparations is a part of. Oh, sorry. Were you trying to say something that was a glitch?
What
Switching up,
happened?
guys. How does it hold?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh, it
you.
must be some connections.
So, well, no, I don't think I was when I was referring to that. I just had heard I had just brought that up as a point because you had mentioned about ask for reparations from the Queen, bankrupt the country, and what I was saying was the interesting part that I find is a lot of people call upon their government for reparations. I do find somewhat of an issue with that only because well, honestly, reparations probably could have been paid with careless spending that this country does. If there was any kind of reparations, it probably could have been done 2 or 3 times over. But what I'm saying is, I always find it interesting. People call upon their government, but they never actually call out the families who are actually in control of a lot of things in this country that are rich, powerful, part of corporations that made their money off of these events, that made their money off of these historical events. People, there's there's families and companies that had to have started in this country that came from slavery times, that came from World War II, that came from World War One, that came from there's
Right.
always people are opportunists. When you can make money off it, they will make money off it. That's why the military industrial complex is so large because you have that ability to make money off it. So why not fund both sides? Like Sos said, funding both sides of the war is always a big thing because people make money in the process of it. But yeah, in regards to England and certain things there, and well, actually, what you were saying, Jamar, about certain things about saying that reparations could be tied into certain programs and whatnot. I think the biggest issue is when we look at Democrats, we look at Republicans. Democrats will always want to spend a lot of money in the social sector. Republicans will always want to pump up the military-industrial complex. That just seems to be true. Usually, most of the time, or Democrats will want to write in policy and legislation, right? And Republicans will be anti the policy or legislation. So I think it's there's a lot of really wild people in the Democratic Party, and there's a lot of rhinos that are just there for votes and don't really care about the party as well either. So, what I would say to that is,
I love it. Yeah, I'm having connection issues. Can y'all hear me at all?
Yeah, you're cutting in and cutting out, and like you're like very laggy on your end.
Yeah, it's all right, man.
Wait, finish what you were saying.
We'll carry your show.
Can y'all hear me?
What I was saying though,
that's fucked up. I don't want you to carry my show. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you guys just so you guys notice, is Jimmy D Unfiltered on Top Politics.
It is. So I want to know, are you gonna mention their names? Are you gonna mention their names, Jimmy, or what? The people that
some of the families.
Because
I think I looked into some of it, but I'd have to get the large list of it.
Everybody, what did you say?
What?
Nobody knows their names. Nobody wants to mention their names.
Rothschilds.
Everybody knows their names. Nobody wants to mention
Elon Musk.
Vanderbilts.
Yeah. George Soros.
That's the old money right there in this country.
Oh yeah, that's old money right there. Yeah, the Koch brothers.
The Koch,
Koch. One of those.
So who's gonna
the Henry Ford?
Who's gonna ask these guys? Who's gonna ask these guys to fund the wars? That literally are funding the wars to fund operations.
The Democratic
Party.
Party.
To ask those guys.
I mean, I'm more of a mindset to change the whole system, but
they're literally the wars. So that's to answer your question, Jimmy. That's the reason why. Like I've been waiting to answer your question. I was just fucking laughing. But that's the reason I'm answering those people.
Well, yeah, the same families worldwide have been funding wars since the beginning of wars. The same bloodlines have been funding all types of conflicts and kind of moving people towards certain things since the beginning of, what's the word? I forget, but since everyone came together on the world stage, man, a lot of those things have been pushed a certain way.
NATO.
Yeah.
So I mean, ever since I found out who was the family that enslaved my family, I think about it sometimes. Going up, knocking on the door, be like, "Yo, listen up."
It's crazy. Like literally, okay. So those slave logs, have you looked him up? Well, I didn't. Jamar, I looked him up too. In history class, we had to do our family tree, and I literally went back to my the first Salisbury. I saw he was owned by a nice Irish couple. Gave him Salisbury, gave him his name. He actually freed him. So that the people that owned my people weren't that bad. They were part of the family. They really were. And I think that's how we survived. My
people were forced to fight for the
We stayed in the South. We stayed in the South. We didn't go. We didn't try to go north because our owners were very nice to us.
Well, you want to know a very interesting thing. So I used to have a conversation a lot with a buddy I used to work with. He was Guyanese, great guy, very intelligent. He was a Rasta, so he was very organic, natural stuff. But we used to have these conversations all the time. And he told me that actually blackness didn't become a thing until America. So there was no there was no difference if somebody was dark skinned or light skinned to a degree. Most black people, if they were from, I believe, Northern Africa, were considered Moors at the time throughout most of the world. But what happened was when they were bringing in black slaves and bringing in like white indentured servants or whatever you want to call it, like a lot of Irish and just low grade fucking whatever, that they needed to find a way to separate that even more, where it was like, hey, you may be like a piece of shit white guy who's basically a slave, but you're still better than that guy who's black. And that became another tool that was developed here in the developed in the early times to create that division even further. I talk to a lot of people and they believe this, that we don't, some of the things that are considered race issues are really class issues. It's not. Yeah. It's going to affect most people, but obviously
they really are. They really are.
Yeah, it's both.
Why do you think the right wingers? But why do you think the right wingers like they turn it into a kind of a race issue, and then they kind of refuse for it to be a class issue, in my opinion, because they bootlick, in my opinion, the wealthy elites and the people that are oppressing us. I'm not trying to get on this. I just want to understand this.
That word a lot today.
Because it's literally on my nerves, Jamar. It's really on my nerves. This is really the last straw. It really is the last straw.
But isn't it also the modern Democratic Party? But isn't it also the modern Democratic Party that's like soft on issues? Like for instance, Joe Biden. Yeah, it's like, so it's not just the right wingers, it's also the modern Democratic Party that are saying, well, you know what?
The modern Democratic Party is raw. They're soft. Oh, they're soft on issues, but the right wing Democratic seems to the Queen. She's had good respect.
I mean,
you can't necessarily equate both. Well, I would put it to you like this: there is a lot. I think there's a lot of people that support the troops, support they support police, and then there's also a large group of people that think that whatever's trendy they're going to follow. And I'm going to give you an instance. And again, I'm registered Republican. Let's take January 6th. Let's throw it in. Sorry to just throw it into your show, but
okay.
Grabbing my clavicles. I'm grabbing my clavicles.
No, but I'm going to put it to you like this. If you disagree with the government, right? Which both sides, a lot of us do. If you disagree with the government and you go into a building that you're not supposed to be in, right? And you take photos and you put your feet up on desks, how would you not believe that they won't come after you? You took a shit on their doorstep and you don't believe that they're going to get you later on when you're by yourself, which was what happened. I don't agree. I don't believe it was a coup. I don't believe it was a fucking storming of the Capitol. But what I mean is, when you say bootlickers, you have a lot of people who think that it's very trendy to do certain things, and they don't know what they're doing. It's the same thing on the left too. There's less educated people. They could care less about learning about so many issues where they can't have a conversation like me and you because they're so busy just screaming whatever they're being told to scream by whatever they're looking up to as to representing them. So, that's why I always shock people when I'm like, well, I'm just saying, I think that it's like, if you talk to somebody who's hardcore on the right, and we'll say a hardcore MAGA, hardcore. I'm not talking about your average dude who's like, I got my hat, I really love Donald Trump, this and that. I'm talking about a guy who's just spewing, like fucking foaming out of the mouth. If you talk to him and then you talk to, if you talk to an extreme leftist like Antifa, the shit that they're saying doesn't represent me or you. Absolutely not.
Yo, you know Antifa is like 80 years old or something like that. Like they
no, it's not. It's not something that hasn't been around. It's just kind of, again, America seems to latch on to things. We, as Americans, we seem to latch on, and shit grows pretty quickly. So what happened was Antifa was actually a small sect, a small group. They show up at rallies. There'd be like 4 or 5 dudes with black bloc on, like all blacked out, and nobody took them serious. Like, these fucking guys, what are you guys doing? And whatever. And then Proud Boys, same thing. But then once Proud Boys grew, fucking Antifa blew up because, again, everything gets polarized very quickly. So if you have one side right? The other side's like, we need to grow. And then there was fist fighting in the street every week out west, over here in DC.
Oh yeah,
So,
Seattle.
So what I would say is just educate. I would say most people need to educate themselves, because honestly, you don't realize how close you are to the person who you think has many different views than you. There's a lot of shit that you agree on, and then you're like, where do we go from here then? So
God, he sounds like me right there.
Yeah.
With my working class views.
Jimmy's like super reasonable. Hey, why, Jimmy? Why do they call you the Rants? You seem to be like you're like Jimmy you're more like Jimmy the Reason.
no, because I could definitely get fired up about stuff. I'm just saying, we're having a panel discussion, right? So like, if there was something that I was really going to be fired up about, then I get a little crazy. But I don't. I used to be like crazier than this, like screaming and yelling. Then I realized that all that does is distance yourself from people. You don't have to scream or yell to get your point across. Talk about it. If you got to take the L, if you didn't know about something, go back to the drawing board, read up and study, and come back out, with the right information. So
I just think that
I agree.
what's happening right now is actually like good for Americans to process. Like these past few years, since like the orange guy made a lot of people think that the country has always been wild. I mean, has been wild just because of him, when the country has always been wild to begin with. Like, I think in these past few years, and how a lot of the U.S. hegemony is finally like losing its hegemony and shit like that. A lot of perspectives, a lot of different ways to interact and collaborate with other countries in this world exists now. So America is slowly humbling itself very surely to understand that we all need each other as working people. We can't keep up with the cancel culture thing and dividing people. I think there's going to be a reset soon on mindsets, and I hope that's me as a socialist saying that.
I personally
There is going to be a reset. Go ahead, Soslan.
Well, here's what I personally think. I think that a lot of
we can hear you, bud.
oh, there's some food in the background, so I'm like,
He's loading the clip right now.
So I personally think what's going on, especially in this country, is that we can thank our politicians, and I think people are starting to wake up. Like your average American, that is like your average working American, is starting to wake up and smell the roses. But the roses are like nasty, and stating that, okay, no wonder why it's not just only a Democratic or Republican issue. Maybe that both the Democrats and Republicans are purposely fueling our side so we can be at each other's throat. So they can't work together. But then as long as they're divided, and as long as we state certain issues, like for instance, abortion or everything else, then they can keep at each other's throats, while we as politicians work together and go golfing together and destroy this country and just take off the backs and give money to Ukraine and Russia and who knows where else. That's what I think. I think that we're all being
I
played.
agree with you. And by the way, that's why I say there's no rhinos. Like, I always hear you guys mentioning rhinos. There's just Republicans and Democrats. I don't understand which ones are the rhinos, aren't the rhinos. I've looked into this. They all have the same donors. They're all getting money from the same people to do the same things, and that is divide us. They can say they can pretend all they want that they're with you, right? Is that what Hillary said? I'm with you. I'm with her. I'm with you.
She said I'm with her.
Yeah.
They can say all they want, that they want to protect your kids. What they really want is to protect the fact that if you realize that gay people aren't grooming your kids, that you just might fucking realize that we're robbing you.
Yeah.
If you don't stop hating this guy over here because he might be a MAGA and the MAGA forces, you just might realize that we're all fucking robbing you. And so this is literally, people want to be like, oh yeah, your team. No, they're not our team. They're our enemies. They're our enemies. And I want to keep on reinforcing that, is the Democrats and Republicans are enemies. There are no rhinos. There are only Republicans and Democrats, and they are our
It's a
enemies.
bourgeoisie system.
Because you look
Okay.
Bourgeoisie.
Because you look at the Democrats and Republicans, look at the people in office. Look at Moscow Mitch has been in who knows how long. Romney's been in for many years, and like all these so-called Republicans and Democrats have been in for multiple terms, and they have done absolutely nothing besides taking from the people. But right when election's up, oh, I'm on your back. Let's vote for me because I'm a Republican and I have your back. Unlike my opponent. No, you've been. Yeah, it's
Never
and
fails.
the sad part is we're dumb enough to fall for their tricks. Well, I'm not, and neither is Jamar. We see through it, and that's why I'm all for a third party, abolishing the two-party system.
Well, I have my things that I stand behind. Obviously, 2A is like a big thing for me. 2A, people should be able to carry and own weapons. The reason why it was the Second Amendment is, and it says to not be infringed upon, was for the fact that the founding fathers knew that at some point this country would definitely be corrupted once again, and I think it's been corrupted for a very long time. And that was your way of being able to fight back against that. Not saying that I condone it or promote it, because obviously, but I'm just saying that was probably their intent when they absolutely put that in. My stance on abortion is definitely I don't think abortion should be dictated by religion to a degree. I'm not a religious person, even though the Bible, I'm more comfortable with the Bible, with the Roman Saint, with the King James version of the Bible. But I don't necessarily believe in the fact that you should outlaw abortion, because obviously you don't want a woman to have to carry the term if the baby's dead inside her. You don't want to have a woman to be able to carry if she got raped. You don't want to, you want to give the parents the opportunity if there's going to be some type of defect that you want to abort, because it's going to take your quality of life and really put it in the dirt. I think that, again, what happens is on both sides of the parties is with things like that is it just becomes polarized very quickly. So if somebody's like, we're going to again, and I think that's really all what it's about, right? The Supreme Court says we're going to overrule this, and then what happens is everybody has to pick. People think that they have to pick this extreme side. I don't agree with late-term abortion. I don't agree with anything after like 4 or 5 months, and that was the rule up here in New Jersey for a long time. I don't agree with that. I mean, I agree that there shouldn't be late-term abortion, but there's certain circumstances that something like that should happen. So I would never fight against things like that.
I just don't think that these parties are ever gonna really give a shit about any of that, Jimmy.
No, they could care less what we think. Actually,
They
the only.
really could.
Look at AOC. Look at.
Oh my God! I wanted to talk about that too. Thanks for bringing.
Oh my God, you guys!
I
just want my sisters to know
come on, what?
I don't always condone talking shit about AOC, even though she is problematic.
Hey, Jamar, is
she
AOC
literally
your girl?
ones up herself, bro. She ones up herself every week. Okay, so Jimmy, I don't know if you know this, but she did a GQ. She did a GQ. Here she is. She pulled a
Zelensky.
Literally, she put in a fucking charge to actually do Medicare for all. Okay, but she did a GQ thing instead. And talk about Hillary Clinton, guys. And this have you read
Zelensky, guys? We gotta coin that.
Guys. Okay, so this is exactly what I mean. This is exactly what I mean by once we got this girl from the Bronx. She was a waiter. We took her out of waiting tables just to do Medicare for all. We took the bitch out of the restaurant just to do a fucking Medicare for all bill. And here she is doing a GQ spread talking about how we all hate women. I swear to God, bro. I swear to God, bro.
Oh my God. Yo,
I give up.
Don't leave my girl alone. All right. She's a Nancy Pelosi in training. Let her do her training.
We could literally get a dog out of a shed, just to we could get Lassie, and he'll end up doing a GQ spread. He'll end up doing a fucking GQ. He'll end up doing a movie Deal, a GMO Medicare for all. I swear to God.
Hey, AOC might be your next president, though. AOC
Yeah,
and
come
Harris.
on.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't know. She might be next, bro. They're
Yeah,
grooming her.
You know, I don't know.
AOC and Cheney.
Listen.
Who else they gonna use? Who else they gonna use? They
I
got
enjoyed
nobody.
Charlie
the country
Smalls.
under Trump. So I enjoyed the country under Trump. I voted for Trump. I enjoyed the 4 years he was under. I think people were honestly surprised at how he was going to act as president. Guys, please don't be surprised. He was a wild man before that. He was, he never had somebody. He never scripted his speeches at all. That was the biggest thing that hurt him. Is just the way he talked to people. Biggest thing that hurt him, obviously. Let's
fake
be
news media. Fake news.
Well, listen.
Hurt me with him.
He was a very
He didn't pardon
hilarious
Julian
guy.
Assange. He didn't fucking dissolve the FBI.
No,
He literally refused to fight himself when it came to his enemies.
But
He was kind of whining about how the media was unfair, when in fact they're liars. And what do you expect, Donald? Like he could have pardoned Julian Assange. He could have brought Edward Snowden back to fucking this country. He could have literally done a lot of things, and all he did
again,
he fucked with people. That's what I did.
You gotta have. Listen, at the end of the day, we still vote for people because we want to have that.
But do we though?
But hold on, we want to have that glimmer of hope that maybe there's some truth, there's some realness in it. I think that's why we go out and vote. I know it could just be the illusion of free will and free choice, right? And I do agree with Tommy. Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that, again, it doesn't matter. From George Bush, listen, Obama to Trump and Biden. Fuck, man, I had it on the tip of my tongue and I forgot it. The Homeland.
Traitors to the country.
No, the Patriot Act. Patriot Act keeps getting signed in every year, and yet that gives the government absolute power to be able to basically.
What did Trump do about that?
What did Trump do about that? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general that it has not. It's been signed in every year. So when we do fight about politicians, at the same day we are putting egg on our face because they're still signing in the same bills that are highly unconstitutional, highly invasive towards the American people. So again, when when a lot of people talk to me, they think they're going to get some some crazy right-wing thing. And I tell them all the time, listen, I was libertarian in the beginning. I was basically in the center. If anything, I was center left. And then I got pushed over and then became constitutionalist. So
what pushed you over? What pushed you over, Jimmy? What pushed you over to the right?
When identity politics became a huge thing, unfortunately, the center to center left got pushed over because you weren't radical enough on the left. Unfortunately, if you didn't agree with certain things, you didn't really have a talking point with some individuals on that side. So you ended up getting pushed over, and people talk about the same thing, like 2A.
I gotta say, I agree with him. The left is fragile right now. The left has never been as strong since the 60s, honestly, when we almost had another revolution. It was going to be like a racial revolution, and also a working class revolution. We haven't had that type of stride because the FBI and the CIA were so good at their jobs as laying in discord between organizations and making them all ended up fighting each other and stuff like that. Before that, the left, you had progressives and socialists and just regular working people from all different sides, conservative and all. They fought for a labor movement that gave us 40-hour work week. They fought for a movement that gave us that pushed FDR to do the New Deal. That was the left. We don't have a left like that no more. I definitely agree with you, Jimmy, on that. The left is fragile. We're all fighting each other, and
we could never have gotten to Labor Day. We could never have gotten to Labor Day today.
Well, the very interesting thing about the left, and maybe Sas will agree, is that I think what you said, Jamar, is true. If we're talking left and right side of politics, the Democratic Party and the left has become a powerhouse at this point. what's going to happen, and I already see it happening now, tons of infighting. So you guys are like, what's going to happen is now the different sides on the left are going to polarize against each other. It's going to happen. It happens.
But aren't they doing that though? Aren't they doing
It's
that
already,
already?
already starting.
Yes.
Yeah, you have
Hey
the
guys,
Bernie-
I gotta tell you, I have been a victim of that. I have organized with people on the left about police brutality and all this stuff, and they have found out that I have certain views that they don't have, which makes no sense. It's stupid, but they use that against me, and they called me a Russian bot. They sent emails to my jobs and try to get me fired. I'm like, dude, I never even lived in Moscow. I don't even know.
Wingers don't do that. Left wingers will try to get you fired. They'll try to get you fired from your job. This is why nobody knows my birthday. This is why nobody knows my birthday, bro. That's why I don't have my real birthday on Facebook.
Tommy, you can't say that though. You can't say that. The left was
fired, bro.
The left has used doxing as one of their main tools in the last 3 or 4 years.
Wrong.
Also, the Republicans use that same thing too. The Republicans, it's just not the left; it's the Republicans that don't.
No, I know, but it doesn't work as well. Like if I called up for Tommy and said, "Hey, look at the show doing this," it wouldn't work. But if you called up on me, it would look at me. It would work.
But look at me, bro. It would work too. I'd be like, "What is this black man yelling about? He's so angry."
Well, and also,
my boss was a white woman, I'd be gone, bro.
Well, you also have
a white leftist woman. White leftist woman would fire me immediately.
Yeah, because you don't have enough women on the panel.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm fucking angry.
That makes sense.
But the shit I said about AOC, I'm fired. About AOC, I'm fired, bro.
Leave her alone.
Why?
I'm just saying. Guys. Like,
we all know what her role is going to be. All right, y'all just gotta stop acting like it's new.
Well, look,
we should all just stop trying to fire each other, okay? And we should just do what I do and just like fucking troll people to their faces.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
troll people to their faces.
Well, you also have to say this though: the Democrats, they promise you, like for instance. Joe Biden, it was interesting how Joe Biden said, "Hey, I'm gonna promise you all these things." Like, for instance, I'm gonna promise that we're gonna defund the police. Well, he can't keep that promise because he's saying, "Oh, we gotta fund the police." Like 2 minutes later, he's like, "Well, we are the party that funds the police," and Nancy Pelosi's doing the same thing. See, they're that party of hypocrisy, and I mean, you want to talk about dysfunction? I mean, and then President AOC, she's like, I don't know what side I am. I mean, look at that guy. He looked at my toes. He must be a right winger, you know? and then also the Me Too movement too. You know, the Me Too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Me Too movement. So hypocritical. You know, they won't go after the Clintons. They won't go after the Bidens, but they'll go after Chris Cuomo and after like Andrew Cuomo for like all this hypocrisy. See, they go attack each other. You know,
well,
I think
to be fair, the Cuomos were thugs.
I still found the Cuomo. I found the Cuomo thing very entertaining because he pushed and pushed and pushed, and friggin' he was pushing so much on the people of New York. And you know what? Then at the end of the day, they threw him under the fucking bus at the end. They were like, you know what? We're done using you. Get out of here. You have too much toxic masculinity on our side. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
and he ran Democrat his whole goddamn life, man. And then at the end of the day, after he instituted everything they wanted as far as COVID rules and whatever, and shutting the cities down, shutting the state down, they said, "See you later, sayonara."
Well, and it's like all these, and you also have to look at this. It's like all these progressive cities. You say that you're a sanctuary city. You say that you welcome everyone. Why is Mayor Lightfoot now complaining, saying, "Well, we got problems because Texas is busing immigrants up to Chicago"?
Abbott is a douchebag.
Yeah, but
that's right wing humor, bro. That's right. Like you think Abbott was just like take them to another place? No, he's trying to be funny. Abbott's trying to be funny.
He's an asshole.
They're busting people in, man. That's true.
Yeah,
neither of them care. Lori Lightfoot doesn't give a shit. Abbott doesn't give a shit. These people are literal just play pawns. They're using human beings. They're using human beings as fucking playthings. Doesn't that disturb you guys? Does it?
What's that?
They're using human beings as playthings.
Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah,
literally-
These
we're
are
all-
human
we're
beings
all
that
playing.
are trauma. These are human beings that literally came from a country that they probably got cooled by our government, and they put in a puppet leader that loves cocaine or something like that. And now the whole country is screwed over, so they try to come
Well,
here.
no,
It's
mo- most-
colonization. Don't forget, it's
Drugs,
colonization
man.
of
We're
America.
on drugs.
Well, you have to worry about. I mean, if you really want to talk about that, you really do have to worry about Central and South America. I mean, communism is, we
Oh,
talk about
man.
we want social. You talk about you want socialism. Well, I'll tell you this much: communism's at our back door. Colombia just voted in a
And that's a
communist
good thing.
president. Well, hey, if you think that standing on a bread line is a good thing, then we got two different
What?
opinions. on
Hey,
that.
we're at bread.
Well, I
Jimmy, we're at bread lines right now. We are in bread lines right now.
Yeah.
You
I
guys
can
realize
still
call,
pick what bread I want to buy though.
that?
That's a good joke.
What up? You look,
I
buddy.
can't
Look
even
fat.
get mad at that.
What? Were you in Iowa?
Listen, I think at the
That's
end
a
of the
good
day, listen. My friend was a big Bernie supporter, and he said it to me, and it did ring true to me. He said,
Mhm.
"We're supposed to be a capitalistic economy, but we're also now a capitalistic society, and that's where we run into a lot of our issues." Here's the issue: people try to play out with socialism work like 100. We have part socialism in the country as it is. People pay taxes, and they take your tax money and they spend it on things that are supposed to be for the greater good of the neighborhood, the
But it's
state,
not.
the country. Well, we know where the money doesn't. When I'm driving and I hit a pothole the size of a fucking pool, I know that my tax-paying money didn't go there and went to Zelensky's pocket, and then he washed the money for Nancy Pelosi. But what I mean is that we're partially socialist as it is now. We just don't
Fire
have
department is a socialist thing.
fire
The
department,
military is.
the school systems, the military. It is to a
I mean,
degree.
they got
So-
programs.
So what's your point?
They're
Jimmy? Let
unionized,
finish.
right? Aren't they? Or is that the
Well,
government?
What I'm saying is, he said that's a good thing with communism. Communism does not work
Yeah.
for the people at all.
Hey,
The
it
reason why
hasn't
it
been
doesn't
established yet. You can't even get
the reason why it doesn't work is because you are expecting. We're sitting here talking about politicians saying how corrupt they are. You are expecting a group of individuals to make everything equal. It won't
working
work.
individuals
It'll never
that are
happen. It's
elected.
like Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Jimmy. Just so
I
you know.
mean, well, listen. We're talking about a system that hasn't been established yet.
We're
They
talking
can
about
call
human
themselves the
nature
Communist
too.
Party.
We're talking about human nature too.
Yeah, it hasn't existed yet. It's all been socialist countries.
The only
They
system
haven't
that'll
even died
If we
yet.
all just took hormones to make us all just fucking unisexual and we didn't reproduce anymore, then maybe it'll work. But anyway,
the only way that any type of system will ever run is when there's a major awakening of everyone and people realize that if they want this kind of utopia, which again will not exist, everybody has to pitch in. That's how it works.
That is the working class taking up the means of production and dictating what their future wants to be.
see, that's why we should stick with socialism. Not communism.
Socialism
Yeah,
leads to communism.
Well,
At least
Americans,
we have
I gotta
somebody
understand.
here. We have
Never
somebody
existed.
here that came from Russia.
Everybody says socialism leads to
Russia.
communism, leads to blablaism. Well, capitalism leads to exploitation of wealth and the extracting of our wealth to the 1%.
What Karl Marx talks about is it's
my
just
guy.
super. It's just super
Why?
theory. It's
I don't
super
get it.
theory because
We're gonna have a
it looks
conversation
good
about
on looks good on paper, but practically cannot exist because people are corrupt.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so that brings me back, guys. That brings me back because it's the top of the hour. Got it.
Yeah.
Get back to this. That brings me back to my last question, which is which colonizers were the worst? Was it Britain, France, Germany, or the United States? Who were the worst
you
colonizers?
know my answer. You know my answer.
Well, camera. Put
The
the lotion on the
Catholic Church.
screen.
Bro, listen, who's the worst colonizers on the earth? Jesus, that's harsh. America.
America,
They're good
we
at
gotta vote for America. America, fuck yeah. Jimmy, worst colonizers?
I can't agree with America because when you talk about colonizer, there has to be some type of colonization. and who colonized most of the Western world, it started in Britain. It started in England. I mean, them and the Catholic Church colonized most of the world. If you think about it, right? Who,
Yep.
I mean, if you're saying a country, but I think Europe in general was Europe. But then there was
so we got one vote for America,
Asian
one vote
dynasties
for
either.
Britain.
So you have Asian
Genghis
dynasties
Khan,
too.
yeah.
So
I said who was the worst, Jimmy? Pick one. Stop being a flip flopper. Don't be a flip flopper. All right, Soslan.
I would have to say America. Here's why.
America.
Because what we do for the military and how the military colonizes, and a lot of people overlook that through like the station, like how a lot of people want to stay in here, and then what happens, like especially during COVID, they're exempted, and so they keep on flushing people in, and they keep on bringing other countries from people into this country through pregnancies, and I think our military colonizes a lot, and we're still doing that. A lot of people overlook that, so I say America.
no, get out of here.
That's two. One for Britain.
When they're saying Tommy, let me ask you a question. When you talking about colonizers,
we got 4 minutes. Go ahead.
When you're talking about colonizers, though, you're not talking about some type of like. I understand what you're saying, Sas, but you're talking about like taking up of resources.
But
right?
don't we do that? Does the American military do that though? The American military does that as we're
They
speaking.
do.
Yeah,
That's colonization. That's colonization.
that's American military. A perfect definition. That is what we do in this day and age.
I can't say we don't. Can't say we don't.
Tommy, what do you think? So we got two. We got two for America, one for Britain. Are we going to be at a tie?
Look, honestly, the leftist in me wants to go for a tie because, like, I don't like underdogs.
No,
but
America,
I
mean, Britain was bad as fuck, man.
But
They
Britain
still
was.
are.
But are we not quite as bad though? Are we not quite as bad? We're bad as Britain.
Oh God, listen, we're the new Britain. We're colonizing Europe now. We're making them all stand with us to try to sanction Russia while they all go poor and lose their gas and all that shit. And
Guys,
what's just coming, Europe?
I think the worst colonizers on the planet was the Biden crime family, guys.
Yeah.
This was Tommy Nation Politics, guys. Y'all be free thinking innovative and open-minded. Soslan Temanson, Jimmy the Rant from Bootlickers Unfiltered, and Jabbar Jabbar, the Voice of Change podcast.
That's not true. Savage Unfiltered.
Tuesday. All right, whatever you because
He's so petty.
it's my birthday, so I'm gonna be off. See you later.
All right.
I am
See you
petty.
later.
I'm like Beyonce, bitch.